Marcus Reed, a successful black man, walked into the luxury car showroom like any other customer. He wore a simple gray hoodie, worn-out jeans, and a pair of old sneakers. He didn't look like someone wealthy or powerful. But what no one inside the building knew was this: Marcus was the new owner of the entire dealership. He didn't come to show off. He came to observe, to see how the staff behaved when they didn't know who they were dealing with. Marcus wanted to find out if this place truly treated every customer with respect, or if that respect was reserved only for those who looked rich and important. The moment he stepped through the glass doors, he felt the shift. Employees exchanged subtle glances. No one greeted him. There were only stares and soft whispers. Then came the manager, a white woman named Linda Shaw, with a tight smile and a voice full of forced politeness. She approached him and asked if he needed help. When Marcus replied that he was just browsing, Linda quickly followed up. "Do you have an appointment? Most of our clients are pre-qualified before they're allowed to see these vehicles." No questions, no courtesy, just an immediate judgment that this man didn't belong here, not because of his words, but because of how he looked. Marcus smiled, not out of amusement, but out of recognition. He'd been here before, not in this building, but in moments like this, where being black in a hoodie was enough to be disqualified. But this time, he wasn't the one who would be judged. Today, this dealership was about to learn a lesson it would never forget. Marcus took a slow breath, keeping his calm as Linda's words echoed in the pristine, high-ceilinged showroom. Her tone was laced with condescension, but she didn't even realize it, because to her, this was normal. She wasn't just offering suggestions. She was politely escorting him out without ever saying the words. "Well," she added, scanning him up and down again, "if you're just looking, I'd be happy to refer you to a nearby dealership that specializes in more budget-friendly options. Pre-owned cars. Reliable, practical, something more accessible." Marcus's eyes didn't flinch, but his heart stung at the way she said, accessible, like it was a synonym for someone like you. He gave a faint smile, the kind that masked deep disappointment. "That's quite the assumption," he said quietly. Linda blinked, momentarily caught off guard, but her face stiffened quickly. "I'm just trying to save you some time," she responded curtly. "Most of these vehicles start at 6 figures. Still calm, Marcus glanced at a sleek, silver sports coupe beside him. He reached out and lightly ran his fingers along the door handle. Linda's eyes sharpened. "I'll have to ask you not to touch the vehicles," she snapped. "They're reserved for serious buyers." And just like that, the line was drawn. To Linda, Marcus wasn't a customer, he was a problem to manage. A presence to remove, not because he was rude, or loud, or disrespectful, but because he didn't match her image of who belonged here. Marcus took a step back and put his hands in his pockets. Still composed. "All right then," he said, voice level. "Let's hear it. What do you recommend? For someone like me?" For the first time, Linda faltered. Her mask slipped, but Marcus wasn't here to argue. He was here to expose something deeper, the silent prejudice that wears a professional smile. Linda hesitated, the words, "someone like you," still lingering between them like smoke in the air. Her face flushed just slightly, but she pressed on, trying to regain control. "Perhaps a used sedan or a compact hybrid. Something more realistic," she said, handing Marcus a printout with a tight smile. He took the list silently, scanning the models. Basic, outdated, cheap. Not a single car on the sheet reflected the type of vehicle the dealership proudly displayed in its advertisements. Not a single one reflected who Marcus was, or what he was capable of. He folded the paper neatly and tucked it into his pocket. "Appreciate the effort," he said with a measured nod. His tone still even, but in his eyes, there was something else now, a quiet fire. Linda crossed her arms, her posture stiffening further. "I'm just trying to be honest with you," she said, her voice lowering as if sharing a secret. "Prestige Motors isn't for everyone. I don't want to waste your time." Marcus tilted his head. "And what makes you so sure I'm not your kind of customer?" She didn't answer right away. She didn't have to. Her silence said it all. Years of assumptions, of unconscious bias, of judging the book by its cover. It all played out in that single pause. Marcus chuckled softly, not with humor but with disbelief. You know what? Let me speak to the owner, he said, casually. Linda raised an eyebrow, surprised. The owner? She echoed, almost amused. They don't just show up unannounced. They're a very busy person. I'm sure they are, Marcus replied smoothly, but I think if you called them, they'd want to know I'm here. Linda scoffed, her patience slipping. Sir, I'm going to need you to leave if you're not here to make a serious purchase. Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't move. He simply pulled out his phone and said, That's okay. I'll just call them myself. Linda's eyes narrowed, confusion replacing irritation. Call them yourself? She echoed, her voice unsteady. Marcus didn't answer. He calmly scrolled through his phone, then raised it to his ear. Hey, he said into the receiver, his tone casual, almost playful. Yeah, I'm at the dealership. Everything's fine. Just a little misunderstanding. Let them know I'm here. He ended the call, slid the phone back into his pocket, and turned to Linda. They'll be here shortly, he said simply. The silence that followed was heavy. A few employees had stopped what they were doing, clearly sensing that something big was unfolding. Linda's face began to pale. Who did you just call? She asked, her voice dropping to a whisper. Marcus didn't respond. He glanced around the gleaming showroom, the one he now owned, then smiled faintly. Guess we'll find out. Minutes passed like hours. The atmosphere was thick with tension. Employees whispered to one another, exchanging confused and anxious glances. Linda stood stiffly, gripping her clipboard like it might anchor her to the floor. Then, the front doors opened. A sharply dressed man in a navy blue suit strode in with confidence. His eyes locked immediately onto Marcus. Mr. Reed, he said warmly, extending his hand. So good to see you. Marcus returned the handshake with quiet strength. Thanks for coming, Alex. I appreciate it. Linda's jaw dropped. The color drained from her face. Mr. Reed? She stammered. Alex, the regional director, turned to her. His voice clipped and professional. I see you've already met Mr. Reed. He's the new owner of this dealership. The words hit like thunder. Marcus stood still, composed and silent, while Linda looked like the ground had just disappeared beneath her feet. I didn't know, she whispered. Marcus finally spoke, his voice steady, firm, and deliberate. Didn't know what? That someone who looks like me could own a place like this? Linda stood frozen, her clipboard now trembling slightly in her hands. Her voice cracked as she tried to speak. I didn't mean. Marcus held up a hand, stopping her gently but firmly. It's okay, Linda, he said, voice calm but unmistakably powerful. You didn't say it, but you showed it. From the moment I walked in. He stepped closer, not to intimidate, but to make sure every word landed. Let me ask you something. If I wasn't the owner, if I had just been a regular black man walking in off the street, would you have treated me any differently than you just did? Linda's lips parted, but nothing came out. The silence was more damning than any confession. Marcus turned to the room, now filled with staff who were listening more intently than ever. What happened today isn't just about me, he said. It's about what this dealership represents. What we represent. He paused, letting the silence stretch. From this moment forward, the culture here changes. We don't judge customers by how they look, how they dress, or where they come from. We judge based on respect, on character, and on how we treat people, all people. He looked back at Linda, whose eyes were glassy with shame. You made a mistake, Marcus said plainly, but what matters now is what you choose to do next. She nodded slowly. I was wrong, she whispered, and I want to make it right. Marcus gave her a single nod. Then let's start, not with words, but with action. He stepped to the center of the room, looking at the full team now gathered. We're not just selling cars. We're building trust. And from today on, this dealership will lead by example. The room filled with quiet nods and murmurs of agreement. For the first time that day, the tension began to lift, replaced by something new, accountability. And Marcus Reed? He wasn't just the new owner. He was the change this place didn't know it needed.